The African Export-Import Bank, alongside the Ivorian government, the African Union, and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, will be hosting and today signing the hosting agreement for the Intra-African Trade Fair, which will officially confer Cote d'Ivoire as the host of the IATF 2023. The Intra-African Trade Fair will be the third edition of the African continent's premier trade and investment event, following the second edition, which held in November of 2021 in Durban, South Africa. Also raised over $42.1 billion in trade and investment deals, 1,501 exhibitors, and over 32,500 attendees from 128 countries across Africa and beyond. Arise International Correspondent Adefemi Akinsanya is in Abidjan ahead of the ceremony, and she joins us now from the Ivorian capital. Thank you for joining us, Adefemi. Can you bring us up to speed with what is happening right now in Abidjan?
Thank you, Hawa. Well, what's happening now, what has just happened rather, is the signing over ceremony. So effectively, what it is a formal acceptance by Ivorian officials, together with Afrexim Bank and the African Union, to host the next Intra-Africa Trade Fair in Abidjan, which is where we are now, in November 2023. So it's a formal ceremony, if you'd like. But another thing that's been quite interesting is that we've been able to hear about the level of progress that's been made as it pertains to intra-African trade, but also discover ways in which we can improve those figures. So, for example, as it stands now, 84% of trade done by African countries is done outside of the African continent. And that's obviously something that they'll want to work on and reverse and put plans in place, make sure that they can use frameworks like the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement that would allow those numbers to reflect a stronger presence across the African continent. So that's what we've been seeing here. That's what we've been hearing. Just behind me, the press conference is still ongoing. And on the board there, we've got President Benedict Oke-Orama, who is the president of Afrexim Bank. And we also have a former Nigerian president, Olusegun Obasanjo, who's also the chairman of the Intra-Africa Trade Advisory Council. And he's been talking about the level of Pan-Africanism and how he is proud of progress, but ultimately discusses how much more progress needs to be done. He actually made a very funny joke. Well, he was serious, but it was funny at the same time, where he talked about us being in Ivory Coast here. The Prime Minister and the President was sharing with him that when it comes to tilapia fish, Ivory Coast imports a lot of its tilapia fish from outside of Africa. And former President Olusegun Obasanjo said, well, that there's no need to do that because he's into agriculture and he's into aquaculture. And so moments after that, the Ivorian Prime Minister took to the stage and said that he would be formally coming to Nigeria on its trade mission, and he would be visiting President Olusegun Obasanjo so he could take a look at his fisheries and hopefully put together a plan in which there could be more Nigerian-Ivorian trade. So it was quite a funny moment, but also one that inspires a level of optimism for the future.
Well, Adefemi, I think it's highly significant that the former president is attending this launch. Could you tell us about the role Nigeria is playing in this intra-African trade as it stands?
Absolutely. So we know that Nigeria is a country that has abundant natural resources, but other types of goods that they can and should and continue trading with other countries. The issue is, though, that there are many boundaries in place, barriers in place that keep countries like Nigeria and other African countries from successfully trading with each other. So you've got relationships and contracts that keep African countries trading outside of the continent. That isn't as reflective as it pertains to intra-African trade. So you've got the likes of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which seeks to solve those issues, but also it's also about talking about how these different countries, despite having different cultures and different languages and different currencies, should be able to trade with each other. So for example, if a Nigerian trader wanted to trade with somebody in Ivory Coast, there are digital payment platforms just like Afrexim Bank have in one of their own payment platforms that would allow trade to happen seamlessly with one currency to the other. other. And it's hoped that over time there would be a situation where we would see the progress that would allow more of that trade happening on a stronger basis, so that we could get to a point where former President Olusegun Obasanjo said that he believes in the next 15 years intra-Africa trade could rise up to 50%, and that would be fantastic, seeing as it's around a single digit number now. So there's definitely a lot of work to be done. Nigeria definitely has its place in championing and engineering that growth, but there's definitely a lot of progress that needs to be made. Transport infrastructure would be one thing that helps it. Ivory Coast, along with all of the West African countries, all share a coastline. So there is the opportunity to make use of shipping as it pertains to transporting goods from one country to the other. Abidjan itself is quite a famous port city. You don't have to go far before you see the lagoon and shipping containers, much like Lagos's marina and Apapa. So we're hoping that what we will see here is these conversations grow and develop into more action, so that we can see far more intra-African trade, which would be a good thing for the continent and for Africans themselves.
So, Adefemi, what are the expected benefits for Cote d'Ivoire, considering the fact that the last event in Durban brought in over $40 billion US?
Thank you, Temi Tokpe. What it does is put Ivory Coast in the forefront of a whole lot of deals being done. If we use South Africa, for example, and even Egypt before then, there was a great opportunity as it pertains to jobs, exposure, deals being done, investment being made for host countries. This would be the third edition. The first one was in 2018 in Cairo, in Egypt, and then in 2021, because of the pandemic, it should have been 2020, but in 2021 in Durban, South Africa, and now in 2023 it'll be held here in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. And it's believed that as a host country, you would obviously be the place where all of these countries are coming to, all of these businesses, all of these people would be flooding into this country and dealing with each other, with this host nation being the catalyst for all of that. So there's a lot up for stake when it comes to being a host country, which is why you'd imagine that it is quite a laborious process in order to get the bid to be successful, and that is what has happened with the likes of Cote d'Ivoire and Abidjan. So it would be interesting over time to see where it goes to next. Perhaps Nigeria, perhaps obviously another African country. These trade fairs are still very much in the early days. There's only been 2 so far, but there is a lot of benefit when it comes to hosting these types of events, because you will have companies, entrepreneurs, bigger, more established companies coming into your country over a vast array of sectors and areas of business and expertise, coming over and hoping to sign more and more deals and expose themselves to the people in your country. When it came to South Africa, for example, we knew that there was more than 1,000 exhibitors, more than 1,000 opportunities for the average person to walk into the exhibition center and see what companies are there. And it's more than just banking or agriculture. There's also creative industries with the creation of CANEX, Creative African Nexus, that allows more things as it pertains to more sectors to be included in conversations like this. So movie deals and production houses also being able to show their talent. So that would be a good thing for the Ivory Coast and hopefully for many other African countries to come.
Hopefully so. Reporting live from the IATF, thank you so much, Adefemi Akinsanya, for joining us on the program.